Hi everyone. So today we are going to continue with some of the report concepts. We will try to discuss the events in report, what kind of reports we have in SAP. When I'm saying report, it's basically the program, but then it generates a list output or a grid output. We will see that eventually. So what kind of events are there? What kind of reporting we do in SAP? How complex we can make it? How can we do an interactive reporting? What are the benefits of an interactive reporting? And then some of the other concepts which are used internally, like how to read an internal table, um, how to put a loop, even though we saw the looping yesterday, but still we'll try to do the same in more details, how to come out of a loop as and when you are done. And then slowly, once the report is a little more complex, we will try to debug the report. So I believe most of the people who are listening to me currently, they would have been associated to some kind of programming language. At least most of the people, I would say, during your education timing, or maybe during your job when you are working on a different technology. So whenever there is a software product developed, so there would be an option to debug it. So for example, there is an issue, there is a complex program, it's let's say 10,000 line of code, and there is some kind of issue coming in. So you want to debug it. It means what you want to do, you want to see that how the program is behaving at runtime, what is the flow of the program, what were the values at runtime, and then why it's not working, even though you were expecting it to work. So, and then a few other things like what kind of messages we can give in SAP. So I have I'm putting some pending topics here. Lock object, self view, projection view, authorization object, security, user profile. These things I will be just taking it up as and when I get an opportunity, as and when I'm having the stuff ready, and then I can just call these things. So I'll just try to take it one by one in the reports. So message. So these are few of the things which I should take up now. If you remember, yesterday we developed a simple report, and if I give some input here, so it generates an output. So this kind of report is called classical report. Classical report is something which is having only one list output. So here if you see, we have only one list output. Means if I try to double click here, nothing happens. Now there could be a scenario wherein the user might ask you that if I double click here, it should take me to the material master, which means it should take me to the transaction mm03. So mm03 is the transaction to display a material, means not just material but also all the properties associated with that material. So this is the transaction to display material. Copy. So this material number is 1017. Hit enter. So there are different views here. So basically the material details are assigned to different areas. For example, sales related data of that material, warehouse related data of that material, what kind of pricing is done, what kind of purchasing options are there for that material. Basic data, obviously the basic details. What is the forecasting of that material? Forecasting is something related to the demand and supply. So that is a part of our supply chain management. Then which plant it belongs to, what is the storage location, different things. So I'm just selecting the basic data 1 and 2. So these are the different views which will store different kind of data associated to that material. If I select all, then there would be multiple tabs, but then I have selected only two. The other thing which you should notice here is whatever we are seeing here, a button, this kind of pop-up, or whatever the screen that is going to come up now. So everything is designed using the language ABAP. So whatever SAP has designed, same thing we can also design. Only thing we need to acquire the skill set, which I'm sure you'll acquire by the time you complete this tutorial. But then there is nothing extraordinary SAP has done, and then whatever SAP has used, same thing is open to everyone, all the developers. Yeah. So now you see here we have this basic data 1, basic data 2. So material description, then measure of unit, which material group it belongs to, what is the weight of one unit, something like that. So I don't have the details of this. So anyways, so this is how a material looks like. Now the user might ask you that if I double click here, it should take me to this view. So that is one kind of interactive reporting. The other thing, let's say like initially we discussed, let's say I have a sales order header in my output. If I double click here, it should show me the sales order item output. Means, as you saw some time back, we had the table VBAK and then VBAP, which means my header data and item data. Now, if you are having the VBAK data here, and if you double click on one of the sales orders, it should show you all the line items. So we will try to utilize that one. So we'll try to see how it can work there. So that would be called an interactive reporting. So this is an interactive reporting. Interactive in the sense the report or SAP is interacting with the user and providing more details. Now ALV report. So ALV is something called ABAP list viewer or advanced list viewer. So I'll try to give you a sample here. For example, if I execute this one is very similar to a normal report. Whatever you see here, it's very similar to a normal report. If I double click here, then it becomes an interactive report because it shows me more details. Now if I go to setting, user parameter, ALB grid display, hit OK. So you will see a different kind of screen now. This is very similar to our Excel sheet. So what you can do, you can sort it, you can do, so sorting is there, you can do a filter, you can do a total. For example, there is a field which contains the numeric value, for example net weight. If I select this, I do a total, so the total would come in the last line automatically. So that is something similar to Excel functionality. I can do a sorting here. Maybe I want to sort it based on the dates created. So you can see it's sorted now. I can again do a sorting. So it will be, sorry, this one. So it will be in the reverse order. So you can do a sorting. You can select all the lines. You can unselect all the lines. You can select one record. You can do a display, which will give you more details of that record. You can do a refresh here. Means it will just refresh the existing list. Then yeah, so this one is a print preview. Just we'll click on this. So this is how it's going to be printed. Then this will be transferred to spreadsheets also. That is our Excel sheet. So let's say this is the okay Excel. So they are saying list is too long to be exported. It's not capable of exporting it. So that is the limitation with my SAP version, because this one is a demo version. What I can try to do here is I will go back. So the maximum number of hits you can see here is 200. I will make it 10. So by doing this, I will see only 10 records. Now if I try to do, so there is some issue basically. The issue is with the Excel connectivity or maybe the Microsoft connectivity with SAP. But then that is a problem with my software. Normally it should work. Word processing. will make sense here. We can download this in a spreadsheet or RTF format or HTML format. So I'll say let's say spreadsheet, and then choose the path where you want to download this. Let's say our desktop. abc is the file name. Generate. So it's saying that it came to desktop. This one is our file. So this is what we saw there. So this is also one of the options. You can download it, and then once the data is there in Excel, probably you can play more with the data. This will be helpful to analyze any issue. So, and then you can change the layout, which means what you can do. For example, you don't want to see these three fields. You can just hide this, just like Excel. You can do a free span. You can optimize width. Everything is very similar to Excel. Let's say I do a hide here, and then what I say, I save this. So if I hit save, so what it will do, it will save a layout uh, for me, I mean specific to me. For example, I give a name, let's say this, uh, something like this. So it saved a layout. Now we don't have those fields, right? If I do here, so select layout, so we have RT. I select this, so this is how it will look like. If I go back and execute again, so you can see some of the fields coming up here, but then if I do a choose layout, then those fields will be hidden. Change layout means you can just change the sequence of the fields. For example, client material, let's say client you don't want, you can just drag it here and drop it in the other window. Let's say you want the first field to be changed by, so again drag and drop here like this, and then hit OK. So you'll see a different kind of layout. So these are some of the things you can just play around. So this is called our ALV report. We will be creating an ALV report. The problem is we have too much of theory, so but it's necessary to go through the theory also. Now update table. We will be updating a table. Don't worry. Join. I'll show you what is a join. Now message. Coming to message. That is another important concept here. So we have these kind of messages. We have a status message, we have an information message, we have an error message, we have a warning message, and then we have a short term message. So basically these are the 5 kind of messages in SAP. So status means, let's say you are doing something and then you want to show the status, process successfully. Information would be a kind of pop-up which will give you the some kind of detail. Once you hit OK, then it will do some further processing. Error is again basically it will just error out and then it will freeze the further operation there. Warning, it's just a warning. It will tell you that something is going wrong, but then it won't stop there. It will let you do your processing. X is short dump. Short dump is basically the process would be terminated there and a kind of error log would be captured and then it will be stored in a transaction called ST22. So please remember, this is a very important transaction, ST22, and you are going to come across this transaction so many times. I would say at least 2 to 3 times per day once you get into SAP. So this one is a very important transaction. So these are the, and then we have another message called a abandon. So you can just cancel some operation there. So basically these kind of messages in SAP. So we will be using it in our report now. And then another thing which I wanted to explain is the concept of function modules. So function module, people who are already working for Java or .NET, or for that matter even in C, C#, C++, any of the language or technology. So you'll be aware with the concept of functions. So it's very similar in SAP also. So function is something, it will take some input and then it may or may not give you an output, but it will do some processing inside, which means, let's say there is an operation and you want to do it repeatedly, again and again, again and again, and then that is a kind of my daily need. For example, I want to do a currency conversion from US dollar to a Chinese yen, or Chinese yen to Japan, I mean Chinese yuan, sorry, to Japanese yen, something like that, to a Nepali rupee, something, any hypothetical concept. So that is something you want to do every time. Or what you want to do, you want to go to the SAP database and you want to read the exchange rate in your report. Now, to do that, you really don't want to write a code again and again, because that is something going to happen in every project. That is something going to be needed by everyone, and even SAP also during its standard development would have needed this. So what they did, they created a function module for that. So function module means it's like it will perform a common operation and then it can be called in your development. So the transaction code for function module is SE37. So you already know SE38, that is for reports. SE80, that is something which we are using. So SE80 is basically a kind of common transaction. It's object repository, so you can see everything there. So what you can do, go to SE37. This is one option, or you can go to SE80 also. SE80 is a transaction, it puts more load on the memory. So because this laptop acts as a server and then acts as a presentation also. So here it consumes a lot of memory, but in reality it's a different case. You'll be having separate presentation and application server. Here everything lies in the same box, so it puts a lot of load. Now here you can choose a function. So here you don't have the option of function module, you have the option of function group. So for example, similar kind of functions, for example, reading an exchange rate, converting one from one currency to other currency, something like that. So these are two similar kind of operation. So what we can do, we can put it under one function group. So let's say we'll create a function group GFUG, and then we can put 2-3 function modules under it. So uh, will be creating a function module, and then so here if I click here, you will get a lot of function groups. If I click here, you will see some function modules inside. So these are the function modules. This will perform some operation. So we will, for example, there is a requirement that you want to count the difference between two dates. That could be a very common requirement. You want to convert the date format. That is a very common requirement. And then there could be many other things. You want to create a sales order. Very common requirement, because you are not going to do it through transaction VA01 every time. You want to do it in your program. So for that you need a function module. So the function module is going to perform a repetitive or a common operation every time. It will take some input, it may or may not provide an output, but then it will perform its task. So if you go to SE37, and for example, and then there are obviously already so many predefined function modules. So we will try to get one. So let's do diff to, so I'll give a wildcard here and then pick F4. Let's see if I get any result. So no function module exists. Dates. I think now we should get some. So you will get the description also along with many of them. So that would help you to identify the purpose of that function model. And obviously this one is one option, but nowadays Google is much more mature search engine rather than this one. So you can just Google it out and you'll easily get the function model. There is one, get months between dates, or get dates quarter. Let's say I take this one, get begin and end date of a quarter. So this is a very common requirement. When I'm doing my development, I have a date and then I want to know the quarter start and quarter end date. So you can execute this function module here. Hit F8 and then it will execute, very similar to our report execution. Before that, I want to go into display mode. Let's cover some more theory here. So this is how a function module looks like. I have created many function modules. You will also get the opportunity to create many, but the criteria is something which is going to be used again and again. So reusable concept is the main criteria. So you go to attribute tab, you will see that we have a function group here. As I said, function group would be a group name under which so many similar function modules would lie, means it would be related to a particular area. Now this is the short text description. You see the function modules, kind of function, what kind of function modules are there in SAP. We have a normal function module, then we have a remote enable, an update function module. So if you choose the normal function module, then that function module is going to sit in your system, within the same system, and then it will be used within the same system. So obviously it can be used in development, quality and production, but then it will be used only in ECC. If you have a CRM system, it won't be usable there. Now, if you do a remote enabled function, it means it can be called from a different system. Let's say you have a Java based or you have a .NET based platform where users enter some data. Now, what you want to do, you want to capture that data and then you want to pass that data to SAP and then you want to get the results back. So I have seen in many cases, obviously those .NET and Java consultants, they know much better about it, but then I have seen they have written, I have seen them writing a code which actually calls a function module sitting in SAP. So for example, this is a remote function module, remote enabled, and then they can call this from their system. So that would come and hit SAP and then it will take results out of it. But obviously, yeah, Basis has to open the port for that .NET platform so that that platform can access the SAP. So the criteria for remote function module is whichever system you are hitting, that function module should exist in that system. It could be from one SAP to other SAP system. It could be from non-SAP to SAP system also. So it doesn't matter. Update modules. So now we have the concept of LUW. I think I have explained it in the first video. So LUW is the concept of database updation. So LUW is called logical unit of work. This could be an interview question also. So this is basically LUW, logical unit of work. So logical unit of works in it works in such a way that update the database if success. I told you that if the previous operation is success, means we put psi sub rc equal to 0. Then if the update was successful, then you do a commit work. Commit work is something we are telling the system that yes, update was successful, you commit the operation. Means you replicate the changes in the database. else roll back, don't do any change, roll back all your changes. So this is something called my update. This is something called my LUW, logical unit of work. So either you update and commit, or you just roll back all the changes. So this size of RC is also important. I'll put it here. One more pending topic is system variables. We'll cover it here also. We'll try to cover. Okay. Now, so this is the concept of LUW. So the update of database in SAP happens via update function modules. So for an update function module, the third radio button should be enabled. This is a radio button like we designed yesterday. So now you can relate some of the concept. This is a checkbox. This is a radio button. And then, so update means now. Start immediately, immediate start, no restart, start, delete, collective run, okay. So this is basically, again in update also we have two different categories. V1 update and then V2 update. So V1 is basically the important updates which should happen immediately. The moment you hit save, it should be updated. So those kind of updates should be identified by SAP and they will put it under V1 category, which means start immediately. Now immediate start, no restart means it will just push the updates and it won't bother whether it really got updated or not. Start delayed, if that option is enabled, means it falls under V2 category, which means it will wait for some time and then it will go and update, which is non-urgent request. Collective run means it will just go and collect many requests and then it will wait and then finally it will run something like in background. So this is basically the concept of function module. Then obviously it will give some more details like who is the person who created it last, who changed this function module, which date it was changed. Package is again the same package which we were discussing all the time. Program name. So this is also one of the important concept. You can see the function group name here. In the function group, if you add SAPL, then it becomes a program, which means this program can be opened on SE38 or SE80. Now include name. So the code in which, I mean the include in which they have written the code for this. So basically that include they are talking about. I can try to double click here. So this is something, we are in SE38 now. So this is something we call the function program SAPL. Go back. Language it will say and not released. So it's saying this function module is not released. It means basically SAP is still doing some R&D on this. And then we should not use this one. But anyways, now if you go to import parameter means what all things it will take as an input. So you'll give the variable name, parameter name. It will also give, you will also provide the type. What kind of variable that is? If I double click here, so basically it's an integer. D means decimal. Now this year, this is a numeric of 4 because year is basically 4 character long, 4 character numeric. Now export is something, what kind of value it's going to return. So it's going to return the beginning date and end date. Beta end means beginning date, end date, type date type. Changing. So it's not changing anything here. We'll try to go through the concept of changing also. Tables means if any internal table is associated during this operation, you are doing something in that internal table. It could be like using that data of that internal table or filling that internal table in the output. Exception means when you are doing some operation within the function module and that operation fails, you can raise an exception, right? I mean like no data found, something like that. I mean not successful, no dates found. For example, here against the quarter, it's trying to find out the beginning and end date. But what if there is no date? Then you can throw an exception. So that based on the exception, you can do your further operation. We will try to see while we are calling a function module in our report. Source code is again our program, like simple thing which we try to do. So if I execute this, and if I give the quarter full name as 1, here is 2014. Try to execute. So you can see it's very similar, a very simple thing, that January 1st 2014 is my beginning date, and then 31st March 2014 is my 2014 is my end date. So January 1st 2014, 31st March 2014. Now if I have to do it in my real time, let's say I have a requirement, and then for this I need to write this much of code at least. If you go and try to see, at least I need to write this much of code, and then every time in every program I have to write that if I need this. So rather than that, what we did, we created a function module. We are putting the code centrally there in the function module. Just call that function module in a program, and then use the output. Give an input, use the output. How to call this function module? We will go in our report. For example, you want to call this function module here, so you need to go to pattern, give the function module name here, call function, hit enter. So it will be called something like this. Now these two things are commented. So I will uncomment this by control greater than symbol. I will also put a pretty printer, and then I'll try to pass some dummy value. Let's say 1, hard coded year 2014, and then before that I'll go to my top, include, because I want to get the outputs. So what I want to do, I want to declare two variables here in which I'll capture that date output. So data date 1 type. So now I'm bringing another system variable in the picture, that is called sy-datum, means system date. So if I double click here, so it's not taking me anywhere, leave it for now. So this is called system date. So system date kind of thing, date to time. This is very similar to size of ours. It's a system variable. I will explain that slowly. So what I want to do, I want to capture the output beginning date in date 1, end date in date 2. And now if I hit pretty printer here, you'll see that system automatically did the alignment. Now it looks more beautiful. So you need to keep on using the pretty printer. Activate this. Now here we are writing this. What I want to do, then I want to write the date 1 and then date 2 also, so that we'll see that what is there in the output. Execute with this. So you can see this date 1 and date 2 is also written here. So this is how we call a function module in our program, in our development, and we utilize the existing functionality for which we don't need to write a code. And then if there is any issue with the function module, so ownership lies with SAP, not with us. Obviously we can go back to SAP and then tell them that there is an issue in your code and then you need to fix it, and then they will obviously release a SAP note against it if at all there is an issue. So this function module is also very important concept. So function module I'll mention as done. This is 37 done. LUW, you understand, now it's done. So these things are covered now. Now the message. we will cover the message. We'll see if I can cover the events today or not, but then let's cover the message at least. Now, as I said, system variable, let's finish this one quickly. So there are many things which gets automatically uploaded by SAP in the at the runtime, and then which will be useful to us at runtime. So for example, okay, so what I'll do, I'll go to a table. I'll go to a table called SYST. So you see here, this is not a table, this is basically a structure. So why this is a structure? Because it actually doesn't need to store anything here in database. These things will be automatically updated at runtime. So we have so many things here. What is the system index at runtime? What is the page number at runtime? What is the system tabix? I'll show you what is tabix. Basically the index of internal table. For example, we are dealing with 100 records. So at that particular moment, with which number of record, which line of record we are dealing with. So row number, many things. Basically, lot of things which are available at runtime. In this, you will find date also. So this is datum. Similarly, I want to know what is the system time. So we have UZEIT, current time of application. So these things will be uploaded at runtime. For example, if I want to write the time as well, SY-UZEIT. This is my time, SY-DATUM. So it will capture now 4 info: the beginning date, end date, the system time, system date. Execute this. So this one is basically my system time, this is my system date, and this you can verify from here. So time obviously would vary a bit because it's the time when this program was executed. So obviously there is a delay of some 8-9 seconds date. So this is how we capture the runtime variables. So there is a structure which holds all the variables which will be valid at runtime. So if you want to see if there is a variable suitable to your need, you can come to SYST and then you can try to search for it. So this is something called system variable. This is going to be very helpful. I mean, many things are already available, readily available. It's reading itself. We'll say that this is also done. Now system variable done. Events, okay. Yeah, so message is another important thing which you should understand today, and then we'll try to wrap it up for today. So now I want to tell the user that once this is done, my operation is complete. So what I can do, I can give a message here. For example, so you did this, you are publishing the output, then message. So first I want to start with status message. S001. In the bracket you give your name, let's say Adi. Wait. Operation successful. I'm executing this. So you can see that I am getting a status here. Don't worry about Adi and 001. First you see operation is successful. So this status message will come in the status bar and then it will be in green color. If I double click here, it will also give me some technical details like what is the message type, which message number, these things will be provided. So while debugging a standard program, sometimes it becomes very useful. Now, next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it as information message. So you see the difference now. So it said operation is successful and you hit OK, then it will give the next operation. So you will get a pop-up basically. So that is the difference now. Status message comes here, information message comes as a pop-up. Similarly, here now if p underscore button 1 is x, which means execute is x, then okay. Otherwise, what now we are going to do is message e001 the execution to operating printer activate. You can see now it's in red color. The other problem is as soon as you issue an error message, it will just stop the operation there. So hit enter, it will throw you back to the previous step. So that is something called status, information error warning. We'll go with warning. So it will be like W001 W. W is for warning. Looks like there is some issue with the system. Actually, in the warning, you should get an yellow color message here. Okay, look into it. Now, short done. So what we are going to do? We are making it as X. Execute. Sorry. So you can see I got a runtime error. Generally we call it as a short dump. Now if there is a short dump in the standard program, so every time we cannot monitor it, so there is a transaction provided by SAP that is called ST22. We can go to ST22 on a daily basis and we can try to see that for this particular user on this date, this time, how many short dumps were there, or yesterday how many short dumps were there, today how many short dumps were there. So I do a start, so I get this short dump. I can do a double click here. This is the same thing which I am seeing here. Now I will try to analyze this short dump. Just try to read this. This current application program triggered a termination with short dump, which means this program itself triggered a termination. So why it's happening? Because I provided a message type X. Now this program detected a situation which would really should not occur. This is a generic text. What happened? Now note down which actions and input caused the error to proceed. I mean, these are generic things. So you need to see the source code extract. So it will show you that where exactly this problem came. So it's pointing out to a place where exactly this message was triggered, this short dump was triggered. Apart from that, you can try to see the values of the variables also. For example, I go up, if I search for date 1, it will take me to the date 1, date 1. So you can see side datum we captured here, sci user DIT we captured. These things are coming here. So this is how we generally analyze a short dump. So in real time we will see many short dump on a daily basis because SAP is not able to handle that exception, so it will throw a short dump. So ST22 is done. Type A, let's try to do that. I'm not sure about type A, how it happens. Let's see. You can click on abap editor, so it will take you the exact place where you got the dump. So I can copy this. I can be so it's basically just cancelling the operation there itself. Except now, before we wrap up for today, one more thing which I wanted to explain. Now, if you want, you can make one of the selection input as mandatory. So the syntax is obligatory. If you put obligatory here, then it will be mandatory to give some input on the screen, selection screen, otherwise it won't proceed. By making that, you can see that this kind of symbol is coming now. If I try to execute it without any input, it won't execute. So that is the difference now. It will always throw this error and then it won't proceed from here. So it's better to keep some inputs as obligatory so that when you are hitting the selection, based on the selection criteria, when you are hitting the database, then in that case, there is some kind of restriction on the database selection, and then it would help you to improve the performance. So you are going to come across this performance issues many times, so you can obviously propose this thing if it's not already there. So message is done. This is how we put messages, and then obviously this kind of message we generally don't use because here we are making it hard coded, which is not good. So we'll what we need to do, actually, let's finish it right away. There is a transaction called /nc91. Here we need to have a message class. That message class is basically related to a particular kind of development. Let's see if there is any message class available which starts with Z. So we will try to use that message class itself. So we have many. Let's say I'm using Z underscore PKT, just some message class, and then let's see how many messages are there. So only 3. Hit on change. And the 4 number, whatever I'm giving here, so 5, it's say same transport. So messages are saved under the message class g underscore pkt, and then the message 4 and 5 is useful to me. What I can do here is I'll comment this one, message I004 message A005, sorry, so message type could be uh, your choice, but message number should be correct based on the message class, otherwise it will throw some nonsense message. Activate this. Now if I execute this program, so you can see that now that Adi is not coming, it's directly showing operation successful, which looks better, more professional. Similarly this one, so obviously that is not coming now. The other benefit of doing this and why SAP recommends this, that this message will also vary based on the user logon language. So if you are maintaining something here, you can go and translate it like I showed yesterday from one language to other language, and you can put it under a transport, TR request, and move it to next environment. So this is how we create a proper message. So we'll say that messaging is done. Now this is anyway, it's like, we'll hold it for now. Events, okay. So classical report, you understand, still we'll cover it, ALB, update table, join, and debugging. So these things are done. Just push it downward so that we don't need to see it again. So I think okay, we will okay, how to create a function module, we'll do it tomorrow. I think we are done for today. It's too much of entail creation of function module. Sorry, not enough. I mean, few people in France, I think they call it MF, module functionally something, I don't know, but in English we call it FM, that is function module. So some of the concepts we covered today that are going to be very important going forward. So tomorrow we are going to discuss on the events in the report, then we will develop a more exhaustive classical report. We will be creating an interactive report, we will be creating an ALV report also, and obviously here we need to discuss on some of the object oriented concept also, and when we are doing that we will be also doing object oriented ALV, but will take some time, maybe 1 to 2 weeks. First we'll cover the core SAP abap concept, then we will move to the advanced topics. We will also cover workflow. Don't worry about the terminologies from docs we need to cover. We'll do it. So we'll create a sample function module tomorrow. We will write a join select query. We will try to push the data in our Z table, and we will try to this itself is going to take another 2 to 3 classes and 2 to 3 tutorials, but yes, we are definitely going to finish it. So I think we are good for today. Just revise the concept. Wherever you feel that you are stuck, you can shoot me an email, or what you can do, you can just try to Google out, and you'll find many more links on the internet. But then, yeah, if you want, you can send an email to me. I'll try to revert back as soon as possible. You can drop me a message on the Facebook, or anything which works for you. So thanks guys, and then happy learning. See you again tomorrow. Thank you.